There's a new Range Rover in the family, and it's called Range Rover Velar. It represents the fourth addition to the Range Rover sub-brand, and it's designed to slot between the Evoque and the Sport, both in size and pricing. Its name, Velar, comes from the original Range Rover prototypes back in 1969. The big question is, does the world need a fourth Range Rover in the lineup, and does it live up to the name? Well, it certainly represents a new direction for the company in terms of styling and interior refinement. Speaking of styling, just look at it. I think it's one of the best-looking SUVs on the market today. Lots of new SUVs are being released every year, but nothing quite like this. Now, I've mentioned before that I'm a huge fan of Land Rover products, but I want to give this model a fair shake and see if they accomplish their goal of reductionism. Words like modern, elegant, and refined have all been used to describe the new Velar. Now let's see if they hold true. I think what this car really captures is that sense of tranquility, the sense of relaxation, the sense that you can take on anything terrain-wise, but you're cocooned in this environment. And this car really feels so much more upmarket than some of the others in the Range Rover category. The Evoque that we drove a few weeks ago is a very nice car, but this feels like the next level. In a lot of ways, this really feels better than a Sport. I've driven pretty much every Land Rover product over the last 5 to 10 years, and this is definitely next level compared to all the other products in their lineup. Another nice thing is the simple lack of buttons and the simple layout of this dash, this Touch Pro Duo, having both of these screens, which for 2018, this is a new thing on the Velar, but it's been added to the Sport and also the big Range Rover, or the original Range Rover, for the 2018 body style, but it got its start really unveiled, I should say, with this model. And I love the way this is set up. After driving this car for the last 3 or 4 days, I love the way all of this functions. The home screen, you've got navigation, you've got media, and you've got your phone. Those are the 3 main things on the home screen. Now, you can customize this any way that you want, but I go with what Land Rover's got because there's shortcuts to your voicemail, there's shortcuts to play and pause your media, and there's a shortcut to enter a destination as well. So all of that is very nicely laid out, very simple. You can see how much signal and battery you have when your phone is paired. And then you have some nice keys underneath that if you want to switch to the camera, you want to do the self-parallel or self-perpendicular parking, you want to turn the park sensors on. It's very easy to get to and from all these different menus. I've used a lot of different systems these days, and this one really has simplicity. The nice thing about the second screen down here is you virtually have no buttons. You have these 2 rotary dials that change functionality depending on what appears inside of them screen-wise. And then you have a volume knob that also acts as an on and off button for your media. And so there's really not a lot of hard physical keys in here. This specific Velar is the R-Dynamic, and it's an HSE, so it is pretty much top of the line. There's really not a whole lot of options that this car doesn't have. But what I really like about these Land Rovers, especially in this Range Rover branding, as you move up the market, is how highly customizable things are, not just for tech, but also for looks. This interior is one of the prettiest interiors, I have to say. When you have this black and white combo, and you have this aluminum trim here that can also be optioned for wood, and you have the nice black here in the middle, it really, really gives you just this beautiful and just an awesome place to hang out and spend your time. I love the 2-tone steering wheel with the chrome bezel that it has in there. I think that adds quite a bit as well, the aluminum trim on there. It just feels nice in your hand. It has these nice thumb rests. Everything about this car screams luxury. There's capability has kind of sewn in underneath here where you can feel that the car is very capable. It has more of a traditional Range Rover feel than the Evoque does. You can really customize this interior any way that you want. There's so many different options, so many different features and colors and ways to make this really your own personal environment. Another nice thing that you have at this level is the digital gauges. That is really, they've really kind of borrowed from Audi's virtual cockpit with this. The fact that you can customize what gauges go where. Now, the one I've settled on, at least for now, is the RPM on the right, the speedometer on the left, and the map in the middle. So you don't have to be on navigation over here to still be getting your turn-by-turn directions, and you can kind of just glance down very easily from your line of sight. and you get a lot of information on this screen. You can add a lot of different little functions there and move those gauges around, make them bigger or smaller. You can make the entire screen a map if you want to. So the customizableness of this interior, I think, is a lot of what makes it luxurious and really allows you to kind of make it your own and make sure that the keys or the screens are queued up for the things that you look at the most. The first thing that you really notice right away, whether you're off on some country roads like we are now, or whether you're in town in traffic, is just the quietness of this car. It really, really is just such a soothing place to be. I read a lot of things in the press release about how they wanted this to be kind of a spa-like interior, and they've certainly accomplished that. It's really amazing what you get in this price range. This car starts right around $50,000. If you load it up like this car is, you can expect to pay closer to $70,000, $75,000, all the way up to $90,000 for the first edition, which has like everything and the really big wheels and all that stuff. But I think most people will end up spending somewhere between $60,000 and $75,000, depending on how you want it to be equipped options-wise. The nice thing about Land Rover and the nice thing about the Range Rover lineup is just how much that you can customize, not only with tech, but also with colors and with interior. I happen to love this black and white interior. The car itself is just all black and white with black wheels, which are an option. The black pack, which gives you the black grille on the outside. It gives you some other black trim pieces, black mirrors, as well as the lettering for the word Range Rover. That becomes black as well. The black roof is an option, so you could get a black pack but not a black roof. You could get a black pack and a black roof but not black wheels. So the fact that you can make all those different adjustments when you're styling your Range Rover, if you will, and I strongly suggest anybody spend some time on the build your own section of any website when they're thinking about getting a new car. But there's so many different options and features and ways to really equip this car to make it really your own. And I think that's pretty cool, especially in this price range. When you're talking about a car that's under $100,000, it certainly can be optioned to have a look of something that does cost quite a bit more than what it does. And the interior feel with these materials and all of the tech really adds to that. So what is it like to drive the new for 2018 Range Rover Velar? Well, this is probably one of the smoothest riding SUVs that you can get in this price range. I really am so impressed with this. I've been driving a lot of SUVs here, not only on Phil's Morning Drive, but also off camera as well. Especially in this price range, the $50,000 to $100,000 price range is really where you really can start to see what's luxurious, what's sporty, and which direction are different things going. This has just enough sportiness, I think, to make somebody that wants a little bit of that happy. There's just enough of that, especially as you switch the terrain response over into dynamic mode. You really start to get the steering stiffened up. You drive on some of these curvy roads and things, and it really feels quite a bit sportier than what you might expect. But as far as luxury, put it in comfort mode, and man, right now we're doing about 45, 50 miles an hour. It's very quiet in here. These seats are incredibly comfortable. It's giving me a small back rub. I've got a little bit of heat coming in as well. And it's just a very, very nice, pleasant place to be. If you have somebody who has a stressful commute, if you're somebody who has an active lifestyle and wants to do a little bit of off-roading as well, and you want something that is very stylish, I think this is one of the best looking SUVs on the market right now. I really do. I'm just really kind of falling head over heels for the Velar. A lot of folks when this came out said, why do we need this? We have the Evoque, we have the Sport, we have the big Range Rover. There's a lot of variation here. Why do we need another version to slot between the Evoque and the Sport? Well, I think this idea that you have something that is more luxurious than an Evoque, in some ways more luxurious than a Sport, but yet it's in a similar price range, it's a bigger size. The Evoque's cargo space is its biggest downfall. As you drive this car around town, you just, gosh, it's just quiet. It's a pleasant place to be. I can't say enough good things about how much easier that your day is if you're somebody who has to drive for a living or you have a lot of errands to run. The fact that you have cargo space, the fact that you have the ability to take 4 adults in extreme comfort. You can option for heated rear seats as well with this car, and actually the rear seats in this one do recline, so relaxation is not just for the front seat passengers. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons for the Velar. I think the biggest pro is that you get something that feels a lot more upmarket than its $65,000, $75,000 price range. It feels more like something that crosses that $100,000 mark. So in a lot of ways, I think it's good value. Some other pros, obviously its capabilities. It has lots of Range Rover type capabilities. This particular model does not have an air suspension, but you can option for that. You can option for the terrain response too, and so I don't think there's a lot of terrain that you could throw at this that would really be a problem. Luxury-wise, it has all of that to the max. There's just enough sportiness to, I think, somebody that likes sports cars and likes a little bit more sporty driving. There's just enough of that built in, especially if you switch to dynamic mode and if you switch the transmission from D to S over to the sport mode. I think you'll have just enough of that to keep those folks happy. So I think it's really a very good all-around SUV. It's great for a family because you have lots of room in the back, you have lots of storage, the second row reclines, so whoever's sitting back there has plenty of comfort. All of those things come together, and by the way, this particular model has a turbo 4-cylinder, so you're getting really good gas mileage. We're seeing about 21 or 22 miles per gallon around town and pushing easily into that 30 mark on the highway. So I think that too is another pro to this. Now, power-wise, you can option up to a 380 horsepower supercharged V6. So if you are somebody who's really wanting performance and sportiness, that would be the way to go. Honestly, I've never felt like that this 4-cylinder was underpowered getting on and off the highway, especially if you're in dynamic and sport mode. I would call the amount of power adequate. That's what I would call it. So there's enough that you never feel like, man, I wish this thing would hurry up, but it's not so much that it ends up pushing it into a different category for what it is. The only other complaint I have as far as the cons list is this Touch Pro Duo does show fingerprints pretty easily. However, there is a solution to that, and it comes with the vehicle. They give you this nice little hand wipe here. This is a lens, it's like a lens cleaner, very nice material, comes in this handy little thing. And so you can just reach right down here and rub them off, and I'd recommend that you probably do that. Well, you probably don't have to do it every day, but I'd recommend that you do it at least once a week to keep everything looking nice. And they come off surprisingly easy with this special cloth. Just don't lose the cloth. Another great thing about this car is the fact that it has its own SIM card, so it can connect to the internet, but not only to make the car a Wi-Fi hotspot, but also so that you can have lots of different features and functionality related to the nav system, including an online-based search function, which is really nice. The fact that you can go in and just type in the name of a restaurant, the name of any place really, you can type in an address and it will search the internet, not just the data that's stored in the hard drive here inside of the nav system. So the fact that it can do both of those things, that's really, really helpful and a big advancement for Land Rover. And I think this makes it a very viable competitor compared to Audi, BMW, Mercedes, and Porsche, because of its combination of luxury, off-road capabilities, and in this case, a little bit of sportiness and plenty of tech. It's really a great choice versus those other vehicles. The only other con I can tell you about is that I know some folks are very concerned about Land Rover's reliability, but since Tata Motors took over, those ratings have been going up. The cars have been holding their value a lot better as well. And so I think if you're concerned about reliability, obviously this is a brand new model for 2018, so some folks don't want to buy and be the very first to get a brand new model, but honestly, the car's under warranty, so it really isn't that big of a deal in my opinion. I think you're getting something that is so different and so new, but also something that is really showing us the direction that Land Rover and the Range Rover sub-brand is headed for the future, which is more luxury, more tech, and really even more capabilities, in addition to such a beautiful and stylish exterior as well as interior. After spending a lot of time with the Velar, I can tell you that it looks and feels both inside and out like a vehicle that cost well over $100,000. The level of luxury and refinement in the cabin, along with the simplicity of the advanced technology, makes it a very unique SUV. I've driven lots of luxury SUVs, but very few of them can accomplish more than one thing really well. ultimate luxury, for example, excellent on and off road manners, or perhaps serious performance. The Velar manages to do all of these things well. The serious performance will call for that 380 horsepower V6, but luxury and capability, it has those in spades. There really isn't anything else like it on the market. It does beg the question, why would you get a Range Rover Sport? If performance is the most important thing to you, then by all means go with the Sport and be sure to choose one with 500 horsepower plus. If you want refinement and simplicity and an all-around great place to spend your time, then look no further than the 2018 Range Rover Velar. Thanks for watching this edition of Phil's Morning Drive, and be sure to check out more of our content on our website. That's philsmorningdrive.com.